Guys, what's up? It's John, Gamester81. I'm here with my friend Jeff. We're talking about some classic homebrew games, bro. What's going on? What's going on, Jeff? How you doing, bud?
So I'm doing good, man. How you doing, John? Love me some homebrew. Love me some homebrew.
Hey, I love the shirt, by the way. Haunted Halloween 80. Is that 85, 86?
This is Haunted Halloween 86. And believe it or not, this shirt glows in the dark. I went into a haunted house this last Halloween, and I was glowing in the haunted house.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it's a game for the NES, also for the Famicom. I believe now 85 and has been ported to the Xbox One and Steam. And I think, has 86 been ported to modern platforms yet?
86 is the one that's on the Xbox One.
Oh, okay. There you go. I stand corrected. But, yeah, no, it's a great game. Great beat 'em up. So kind of, look at your shirt, remind me, dude, let's talk about homebrew games. Because, no, all platforms really, I guess, but mainly Nintendo. Because that's probably the one I think most people think of homebrew games is Nintendo, NES. It's evolved a lot, man. I mean, the games nowadays coming out are incredible. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it turned into something that was created in someone's basement. You know, that's why it's called homebrew, because you typically think of that dude in a basement coding by himself and coming up with some crazy games. And it's gotten to the point where, like games like Haunted Halloween, where it's done by a group of dedicated individuals that come together and cover aspects of the programming. You got graphics and level design and programming and music, and all the aspects come through and they all QC each other. It's almost like they're programming legitimately for the NES.
It is, you know, and to be honest with you, being a developer and working for CollectorVision Games for years now, and having worked on NES games, I can tell you firsthand how a pain in the ass it is to do these games. It's a lot of work. Not only just programming, but you got to worry about the marketing and the production. And once you burn that game to a ROM, it's done. There's no patching it. It's it, you know? So it's really cool to see games evolve through the years, because I remember, like, even 6-7 years ago or so, NES games, even the quality of the games weren't as good as they are now. So it's I refer to them as indie games for the NES, to be honest with you, because I think homebrew really does a disservice when you call it a homebrew game. Because to me, I think homebrew, I think it's someone who's making it from the house, you know, and that might be the case. But like, these games could be released in the 80s, 90s, and you wouldn't even, you know, the quality's up there, right? So a lot of these games are better than some of the original NES games, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would almost think it's to the point where we need to reclassify the terminology. You like the term indie. I like the term aftermarket Nintendo release.
Right,
aftermarket.
Sure, right. Yeah.
And if it's an aftermarket release, it could be anything that was released after the heyday. Wario's Woods was the last licensed release, so anything released on that system afterward. Now, the one thing about homebrews and aftermarket releases that, you know, viewers need to be cognizant of is that anything that somebody programs for the NES could be flashed to a cartridge. So you need to kind of do your research, play the games online if they have demos available, watch some videos on YouTube. I mean, you just did a few reviews yourself. You can, so that way gamers can check out the games and see what maybe they're interested in, because otherwise you're going to get a demo of a shooter game where you're dodging bolts on the screen.
Right.
And that's a legitimate release.
Right. And I'm not saying every game that's coming out now is a great, fantastic game. But I'd say they have stepped up, and a lot of the games are really good. I mean, Haunted Halloween is up there, certainly. We're working on CollectorVision Games. I'm excited. We're working on a game called Dead Tomb. Should be coming out early next year.
Dead Tomb, you're talking about LucasArts releases? Dead Tomb is amazing.
No, so this is different, though. This is a game that came out. It wasn't even called Dead Tomb. It came out in Montreal as, I guess they had a device, like almost like the Sony network. Yeah. Sony's, and it was like where you could actually play games through cable back in the 80s. And this game came out only in Montreal. It's a point-and-click game. So we're porting over to the NES, and it's like futuristic, almost like Stargate. Think of like Egyptian future, kind of Stargate-ish style.
But it's a point-and-click adventure, correct?
It's a point-and-click, yeah. It's a point-and-click, yeah. And it'll be the first game we're doing under the Acclaim label, because we own the trademark for Acclaim. So that'll be interesting. But no, we're super excited for that to come out. But not only that game, but there's a ton of other games. I mean, Mega Cat Studios is another company that does a lot of good quality new NES games, a lot of Genesis games as well. So they're definitely out there. You just have to go find them.
Well, the interesting part with the, and you mentioned like not every game is quote unquote good, but it's not that. It's not that. It's that not every programmer is at the level of NES developer. They're still learning, and that's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing against a new developer learning their craft and somebody being inspired enough to put that onto a cartridge and release it. It's just that for the normal NES player, they just need to be a little bit cognizant of what's out there.
Sure.
And not have their expectations at this high level, and then all of a sudden, like, if they're like, "Oh, this isn't Super Mario 3." Well, yeah, it's not going to quite be Mario 3.
Yeah, we're not going to have the next Legend of Zelda. You can't see that. But no, certainly you have to have.
You say that, but I know some things that are on the horizon.
That's true. That's true. So go into having expectations. Just have a fun game. These games are what I call retro hard. This is a lost art, I think, in gaming nowadays, where modern games, I still enjoy playing. I've been playing God of War. I'm going to pick up Red Dead Redemption 2 here, probably for the holidays. But I enjoy those games, but they're easy compared to the games back in the day. Back in the day, you had... What's that?
I would say, well, and think of games like the Homebrew game, the one that put Homebrew on the map for the aftermarket releases, Battle Kid Fortress of Paradise.
Battle Kid, for sure.
That is NES hard. I set a record with a speedrun back in the day.
Did you?
Which was, oh yeah.
Nice.
The creator of Battle Kid, Savak, he actually was a Mega Man speedrunner. And he loved it. And so he created Battle Kid to be able to be speed ran through.
Okay.
And so he has this boss fight mode that you can access with a code. And he did a boss rush competition. And if you won, you got a limited edition copy of Battle Kid 2.
Okay, that's cool.
And he only made 33 copies.
Nice.
Each limited edition.
Did you get one?
I got number 12 of each version.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, Battle Kid is a great game. Cool. Yeah, for sure. For sure. But yeah, I mean, and what do you think of the NES Maker? I think that's going to definitely change things as well.
So I think that is the reason why we need to talk about Homebrew, because things are going from NES Homebrews were just up and coming. People were hungry for Nintendo games. Limited edition releases would go for hundreds of dollars. Now we're to a point where there's a lot of Homebrew games for the Nintendo. When I say that, there's over 500. And now limited editions aren't super expensive.
It'll get to the point where there'll be more Homebrew games or aftermarket games, as you called it, or indie games, than there are original NES games, right? Because I think we're about 200 apart right now at this point, right? So it's just a matter of time.
I would say that I am brainwashed to Homebrew, so interchangeably throughout this video, it'll be Homebrew aftermarket.
Sure. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Wow, and I think the NES Maker, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a device that's going to make it a little easier to program. Buddy Joe made it, and you don't have to necessarily know C programming or anything like that, which is great. So I think I see it as a positive, because I think it'll definitely open up the door for people who maybe prior didn't have the ability to program, which is great. But then you're also going to get a flood of just a ton of games, good or bad, And so I kind of see that as a negative potentially as well. But we'll see. I think overall, I think it's going to be a net positive for the community.
I would say NES Maker is going to be an interesting one. That would be one of the games. Joe Granado, who's created NES Maker, is creating Mystic Searches, which could be the next Legend of Zelda. It could.
That's true. Yeah.
So like NES Maker is interesting because I backed that on Kickstarter, and where that's cool is it couldn't have been done with anyone but Joe Granado.
Right.
Because if you watch, he has released tutorials on how to create the NES games and how to use that tool to be able to create games within the engines that he's creating. So where you may not see necessarily bad games unless it's not artistically pleasing, you're going to see a lot of cookie cutter games that are in his engine style. So the first releases will be like, oh my god, and then you're going to see 10, 20, 100, 1,000 games released like that, and then everyone's going to get numb to it.
That's a problem, right? So I think there'll still be good games coming out for it. You just have to they're going to be harder to find. So
and Joe will release new modules that won't be an action RPG. You'll have a shoot 'em up or a platformer,
sure,
and they're scrolling, and it will constantly evolve.
Sure.
And if anybody is going into NES Maker to create Nintendo games, just realize you got to be in it for the long haul. It's a developmental tool. It's in development, and it will constantly be molded and tweaked to be better utilized and better user friendly.
Yeah.
It's not quite to the point where you can click make the level. You still have to manipulate a bunch of metadata, so you have to know a little bit of programming still to be able to get your head around it. But it's a lot better than typing in freaking in
C,
assembly.
Assembly.
Oh no, it's not as easy as C.
Yeah, assembly. Yeah. It's So kudos, tip my hat to Joe for creating it for sure. It'll be interesting to see what comes from it. It'll be cool for sure.
Absolutely.
There is a game though. I did just my previous video. I talked about one of the top. I did a recent video 10 recommended new NES games, and one of them is called Super Bat Puncher. And if you just Google it,
oh my god, I wish.
And you can play a free demo now. You can download the ROM and play it online. And it's still in demo phase. It's been demo phase for several years, so I don't know what the status of the final game is. But
you want to know the status, John?
Yeah.
You want to know the status?
Yeah. What is it?
So the guy who created Super Bat Puncher created a game called Micro Mages that was just in 2018 funded on Kickstarter.
Okay.
It was funded for like almost $150,000.
Holy cow! Okay.
So that game is like a scaling platformer with a bunch of mages. You can play 4 players simultaneously on the NES.
Okay.
Super cool. So the creator, it's Mioi, however you want to say it, is the creator of Super Bat Puncher. He has leveled up his programming to such a point that if he went back to Super Bat Puncher, he would have to redo it from scratch. And so far, he's focused his efforts on new games.
So it's done. That project's done.
That project so far is done. I've been talking to him since before my first release, and those that look me up online will see that I released a game called Jeffrey Wittenhagen's Black Box Challenge, done by Sly Dog Studios. The initial one is I reached out to Julius Maui and tried to get him to associate a full release of Super Bat Puncher with my book.
Oh, okay. The game has so much potential. I'm loving it. Just the co-op part of it too, where you can do 2-player co-op with a bird and stuff. And it's so.
My daughter was playing it, and she was much younger and pooping on everything.
Right, you can poop on things. Yeah, the graphic. graphic is great, tight controls, but I'll have to check out his other games for sure. Super talented, no doubt.
Yeah, Micro Mages will be out soon because apparently when he took it to Kickstarter, it was already done. He's just looking at funding to create the NES cartridges, which is expensive, as you know.
Very expensive. Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Well, no, good. Anything else you want to
add? So I would say the evolution of Homebrew is interesting because it went from this really exciting thing where you have a ton of new stuff to now we have a lot. And now we're going to go into this interesting part where I can't wait to see where it goes because the quality's going up. You have crazy companies like Collector Vision and Mega Cat Studios and Retrotainment Games.
Right.
And then indie developers going to Kickstarter and killing it like the guys from Morph Cat Studios, which is Morph Cat is the guys who did Micro Mages. And it's going to be interesting to see where things go because, I want NES Homebrew because I love the feeling of getting a brand new game, opening it up, smelling the new cartridge, putting it in my Nintendo, pressing it down, pressing play, watching it unfold, just like I did back in the day. There's nothing you can put on that.
Yeah, and it's a shame that Super Nintendo is so challenging to program for. Hence why you don't see many new Super Nintendo games, and we're crazy enough to do a few, but... you don't see many, and the ones you do.
You guys knocked it out of the park with sitting here.
Thank you. But with the games that you do see are a lot of times games that are like incomplete ROMs or ROM hacks. You don't see many new Super Nintendo games, right? So it's just a super hard platform to program for. Which you think would be the opposite because it's more advanced, but it's a bitch.
Yeah, it's like with the 16-bit generation, Super Nintendo is ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
And then Genesis has a ton of tools and
right.
community support,
right.
and it's super easy.
Right, absolutely.
It's as big, if not bigger, than the NES.
Really, yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, Jeff. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, John.
We'll see you guys soon. Take care, guys. Game on.
Boom.